StarrSoap's channel. How are you today? I'm doing good. Today I'm going to be entering a challenge in the Kiwi Soap Makers group over on Facebook. It's called the Thin Line Design Challenge. Now if you've been watching my channel over the years, then you'll know that I struggle with making perfectly straight lines in my soap. I've tried with my candy cane soap and with a bunch of other ones. The only stripy technique that I feel I've ever mastered, and I've only mastered it once, was the tiger stripe technique, and I will leave a video below where you can see how I did that and I mastered it, and this was a long time ago. So when this particular challenge cropped up and I watched the video showing you how to do it, I was like, ooh, I think I might be able to do this. So I'm really excited to give it a go and find out if I can get some really cool thin lines in my final soap. Fingers crossed. So I'm going to be scenting it in black raspberry vanilla and using the colours that match, in my opinion anyway, which is white and black and pinky red. So without further ado, come along with me and I'll show you how to make it. Squee! Okay, so first things first, we're going to add our cooled lye water to our cooled oils. And it seems like a very small amount of lye and oil, doesn't it? Because I'm just making a single batch and I have not been doing single batches lately, so it just doesn't seem like there's very much going on there at all. Now gloves on for safety, which I always just very carefully pour my lye first and then rinse those dishes and then put on my gloves before I start to bring it to a light trace. And now I'm going to mix it until it has come to emulsification, and I know that we're not at any false trace, we're definitely all emulsified, before I go ahead and add my delicious black raspberry and vanilla fragrance oil. And I'm using a pipette to do this because I have a very large bottle of the fragrance, so if I just try to pour it in directly from the bottle, it's probably going to end up pouring in too much of the fragrance. Using the pipette allows me to put in just the right amount. I want it to smell good, but I really don't want to add too much and risk it discoloring my soap, because of the fact that I'm doing this design and I really want the design to look how I've planned it to and not turn some funny colour that I didn't plan. So I'm mixing that in now, and I'm making sure I do this early on before I start mixing any colours and get that fragrance in, which is a backwards way to how I would do it if I didn't trust the fragrance oil. So because I know this fragrance oil behaves itself and it doesn't cause the soap to thicken up or do anything silly, I know I could just go ahead and add it into the whole jug. But sometimes you'll see me adding fragrance last after I've thoroughly mixed the colours in. That's usually because I know that fragrance can tend to cause things to thicken up, so I add it last and then quickly get it in the mold. So it's all something that you learn as you go through your time of making soap and you try different fragrances, different recipes, and soaping at different temperatures until you find what works for you, and everybody's different. So personally, what I find works best for me in my climate, living at the base of a mountain here in Taranaki, New Zealand, is that I soap at a room temperature, which is about somewhere between 26 and 30 degrees Celsius usually. So it can differ, and I can be soaping in colder temperature than that, but I'll usually have my oils and my lye somewhere between 26 and 30 degrees Celsius when I go to soap. And everything stays nice and fluid, which is important, and I can stay in control of it, which is something that's not always easy when you're making soap. So that's right, I'm used to also thinking on my feet when things don't go how I plan, but it's also really nice when I make a plan and everything goes just how I wanted it to. So I'm using micas for my colorants today. I would quite often use activated charcoal when I color something black. But I also know that activated charcoal can cause the soap to thicken up, and I want everything at the same viscosity. I don't want one jug thicker and one jug thinner like I've had in other attempts at doing things like this. So I'm using black pearl mica, and I'm also using, it's called red mica, and it's from New Zealand Soap and Candle Supplies. It does not come out red in cold processed soap. It's probably red in melt and pour, but it's definitely not red in cold process. It's more of a nice hot pink. I like it though. It works for raspberry, which is what it's representing, and the black raspberry and vanilla that we've got going on here. So I'm just giving that a really good mix, and like I said, I know that these micas are not going to cause that soap to thicken. They'll keep it at a nice thin pourable trace, and I'll be able to hopefully pull off this thin line design. So now with all of the colours mixed, and I've got the titanium dioxide making the base nice and white for the creamy vanilla, I'm just going to pour the different colours and lines in my jug. So, and I'm actually aiming at the way I'm going to be pouring as well. So if you had more than two colours, you might do thinner lines, or you might do this differently. Because I'm just using black and red, I'm putting the black lines on either side and the red in the middle. I found this worked really well for me. So I don't pour all of the colours in, I just pour some in, and then it will be time to pour that into the mould, and then I can come back with my colours and top them up. So you can see that with the first pour, there's it's a bit muddy at the beginning, but there's definitely some lines coming through in the pour. And now I can go ahead and add more of my colour into the jug now that I've made some room. So we'll pour some red in the middle and again black on either side, and then we'll just continue pouring into the mould, continue adding the colours and pouring, and we'll see how it goes. Wow, that looks so cool. I really love how it looks as you're pouring it in like that back and forth. And you can see how you are creating almost a wood grain of lines all throughout the soap. So I think this would be really groovy if you used shades of brown and then you use something like cedar wood fragrance or essential oil, depending. And you could absolutely come up with something that was like a tribute to beautiful pine or beautiful wood. So I think that's really cool. I'm going to go ahead and clean up this mess that I've made here. Now I don't have to have my mould tilted any longer. So I just had my mould resting on a folded up little tea towel there, and it was keeping it tilted so that I could pour to one corner, one edge of the mould. Now it's fill enough that I can flatten it out, and then I can go ahead and continue pouring the soap in. And I will add more colour at this point. Again, the red down the middle and the black on either side. I scrape out the last of what I've got left of soap onto the very top, and then I come back through with a skewer and give it a really pretty swirled top. I really love how this top looks. I always feel tempted to go back and swirl more and more, but with this one I knew that one swirl was enough. You have all these lines and then you sort of bring them together. I truly feel artistic, and it's one of the few times in my life where I felt like I can create something that's really visually pleasing. And that really is. It's beautiful. So it sits for the rest of the day, and we're back late in the evening to cut. And I do apologise for my light. I've recently lost my light. It broke, and I'm improvising using different torch lights to try to provide a decent filming environment and really make sure you guys can see, because I really want this camera footage to do justice to how beautiful this looks in real life. You can see how that once bright and vivid pink has actually faded to quite a dusty rose colour. So that's a bit disappointing. But I do still like it. I do think it's pretty. At the end of the day, it's been very difficult to find red that works in soap, and I don't blame that on any one supplier. It's just really difficult to get a nice true red in cold processed soap. So, so far my favourite and best method has actually been using my brick red oxide, and it provides a very terracotta brick red colour. The next best that I've ever had was a mica that I got from micamama.com, and it was called Bordeaux. So I think that's a reference to red wine. I'm not 100% sure, but my Bordeaux mica was the best red mica I've ever had, and I'm seriously considering placing another order from Mica Mama, who's all the way in the UK, just so I can get some more Bordeaux. And doesn't that look amazing? I'm really excited to cut into this, guys. With this type of soap design, I cannot just use my multi-bar cutter and cut it, because you simply will not see the beautiful design and you won't get those thin lines. So I'm having to pull out my trusty knife. I have to cut the entire block in half, and then you'll see how I have to cut it. It's very similar to how I had to cut the mantra. So you can see here that if I cut it normally, you'd still get an interesting looking soap and it would still have a lined look, but it's not quite what we're going for. So I then cut these blocks as much in half as I can. I eyeballed that. I think that's pretty good. And I'll cut this one in half again as well, just straight down like I normally would into blocks. Now I have 4 equal blocks. Now bear in mind that I would usually get 9 bars cutting it this way. That does look pretty cool though. Oh yeah, that's really, I don't know, what does that remind you of, guys? Leave me a comment below. So yeah, you can see that I would get 9 bars cutting it that way. I think I get 8 bars cutting it this way, but that's alright, and they are slightly thicker. Now I'm trying to figure it out. This is what's going on right now. I'm moving them around and I'm like, what do I do here? That's right, Crystal, cut it in half this way. Now I know that I'm not going to get 3 bars from each block. So even though I sort of wanted to do that, I wanted to try and cut it into 3. That'd just be too skinny. This is the look that we want. There it is. There's those thin lines. They look straight-ish. We've got some curving off to the side there. But that is really neat. That is really, really neat. It is a cool way to get a lined design in your soap. Say that 10 times fast. And it's, yeah, it's a unique, different thing. Sometimes you get a little bit stuck just doing the same thing all the time. So it's nice to do something different. I wish that red came out better. Like, to be fair, on camera at night here, it looks like it's almost orange. But it's not in real life. It's definitely pink. I just wish that it was a bit more bright red. It would really have stood out in the design. But I do love black and white. It looks great. I love how these lines have come out, and I'm definitely going to try this technique again. You can see, especially with these ones, how much thicker and larger than my normal soaps these are. So it does mean it's a bit tricky to put them in the inventory with the regular bars charging the same amount. It kind of seems unfair. But it's not like I'm doing this all the time. This is just a one-off. I really love how these soaps look. They're really neat. So I will have to try it again. If you've got any ideas for different lined soaps you might like to see in the future, or in fact any soaps you might like to see from me in the future, please leave comments below. Sometimes I do really need your guys' inspiration, and you really help me to keep going. So thank you. Here are the wet soap pictures of the wet soap in the mould, and I love how that top swirl came out. It's so pretty. And here we have some pictures of the cut bars. Once again, this lighting is not the best, and I will work on that. I've been looking at different lights, and as soon as I can afford to, I'm going to order a new proper light for my soap room. And in the meantime, I guess I'll just have to try and soap during the day. Well, thank you so much for watching me make this soap, guys. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And yeah, I hope to see you all again next time. Bye!